Hello and welcome to Get Involved Referee with me, Lindsay Herron, and Des Roache. Good afternoon, Des.
Feeling quite lonely without my sparring partner with it. Oh, sorry, Jack, isn't it?
Jack.
I'm missing him. Yeah, but he's over visiting his son, so I'm sure he'll be tuning in.
Absolutely. I don't know what time it is in New York, but I'm sure he'll get the message as soon as possible.
Yep, I'm sure he will.
Well, I mean, it was Old Firm weekend, of course, a lot on the line. But where's the blood and thunder gone from this derby, Des?
The expression I came away from the game was it was very tame. There was no really contentious decisions for John Beaton to make. However, John made the game controllable. I think he had a very good game. I don't think there was anybody in the pitch who didn't realise who was in charge, and none of the players were going at it, so to speak. It's very, again, I'll go back to the word, very tame compared to years of our vintage.
Did that surprise you? Because Rangers had to win the match, so you would maybe expect a wee bit more aggression, which they'd actually shown in the Scottish Cup semi-final 2 weeks earlier. Yeah,
I think it does. Obviously, Rangers have got a very hectic schedule at this minute in time. They've got one eye on the Europa League. Let's be honest, the league's almost done. So Celtic were going out there not to lose the game. Rangers had to win the game. So they both negated each other. Mm-hmm. And I think both managers walk away quite happy. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is coming away saying, well, I've got nobody injured. Semi-final still to play on. Is he going to win the league? Probably not. Has he got a chance of winning the Europa League? Probably has. And that also gets them into pot one of the Champions League for next year. So there's probably a bigger picture at stake for Rangers than there was for Celtic yesterday.
Absolutely. And that's 5 Old Firm games this season, Des, and not one red card. It's almost unheard of, isn't it?
Pretty much. Again, I don't know if it's coming from the influence of the management team and the coaching team, but the players were very respectful of one another. I think it's probably the first time I've seen Celtic players or Rangers players pick one another up after a foul, Dyson Maeda, etc. But yeah, it was just not blood and guts anymore. It's not going that way. But yeah, decent enough game, but maybe not for West Coast Scottish guys watching it looking for blood and thunder.
I was going to say, is it because there aren't as many local boys playing for the teams anymore? But when you look back, there was hectic games with Alan Thompson and Fernando Rickson and John Hartson and guys like that. So maybe not. Possibly.
Obviously, I don't know any inside information, but I think obviously guys are coming from abroad. I mean, how many Scottish-born players started the game yesterday? Probably very few. Yep. Celtic, Ralston, Taylor,
Callum,
McGregor, Rangers. I mean, what are you talking? So you've got less guys who get more of a cultural influence. Maybe is a better way to reference it. But yeah, listen. John done a good job, so I know people think that we're here to bash referees. You've got to give him the credit. He done a good job, and as did his officials as well.
Some Celtic fans felt he was a wee bit slow and pulling up some players for challenges, and it was 5 minutes into the second half before the first booking actually.
Yeah, 50 minutes. First challenge, Anthony Ralston, I think it was, as we just spoke about earlier. No, I don't think there was anything that was jumping out at you that had to get a hold of. I mean, we've said it numerous times. A foul in the first minute and a foul in the 89th minute. If it's worthy of a caution, then you've got to sanction it with that. But no, I thought he managed the game very well. And say you're looking at the newspapers this morning, nobody's talking about the referee. So to me, that's a good job.
That Ralston one was a wee bit tasty. Actually, just caught Arfield in the back of the ankle, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I think he would be quite happy to take a yellow card for that one. I don't think there was much dubiety about it at all.
And the rest, were fairly straightforward yellows as well, weren't they? That Beaton sort of pulling down Scott Wright in the wing, didn't he?
Yep.
Giacomakis for sort of 3 or 4 fouls. A sort of high boot from Ryan Kent, wasn't there, which is fairly insignificant.
I think the fact that we're all in agreement that you expect a yellow card for that, nobody's complaining. Giacomakis, I think what John done there, he sold the decision not just to the players in the pitch and the crowd in the arena, to the TV viewers at home as well, because this is going worldwide. Everybody knew what he was doing, and Giacomakis, as soon as he got the yellow card, he went, okay, fine. He knew it was coming.
Yep.
So no, it was pretty much a textbook game for him. And listen, John's had his ups and downs over the season, so as much as we can maybe berate him previously for not berate him. That's probably a bit hard. As much as we can disagree at certain times, I think yes, you've got to give him all the credit to allow that game to pass off. No managers are talking about him, no players are talking about him. Job done.
I was going to say, because like a player who has a good game or scores a hat trick or defends well, if the referee has a good game like that in such a high profile match, that can only be good for his confidence going forward.
Absolutely. And as you said there, it's like a player. If a player has a bad game, you don't need your manager telling you had a bad game. You know that. As a referee, goodness, I've done it numerous times. I've come home up the road and the bags in the cupboard and the dogs and the dogs coming out for a 3-hour walk. You don't need anybody to tell you that. So if you're getting momentum and your confidence is up, then you're going to perform better. And it's the same whether you're a referee or a player. Confidence is key. And if you're confident in your own performance and you're playing well and you're managing well, then it can only be to the benefit of yourself. And say, let's be honest, if you go up the road with a howler, what you're going to do, you need somebody to boost your ego. So no, I thought John done great.
No, that's good. Although he wasn't very convivial with Matt O'Reilly, was he? He tripped him up quite nastily and just inside the Rangers half.
I know, he maybe booked himself.
That was quite a funny moment, wasn't it?
No, but again, that humour, you've got to bring humour into the game as well. It's a man's game. You'll make mistakes, you'll do things right, you'll do things wrong. So do you know what, just put your hand up and get on with it.
The one that was some people felt was a wee bit contentious was when Amad Diallo came on and he deliberately took out Lee Alabada, who was running through. For you, was that yellow card only and not red?
For me, I'm quite comfortable with the yellow card. Yeah, there was still... It wasn't denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. I think he was lucky to get away with it to an extent, but the yellow card's fine. Why are you making that challenge? Why are you doing that? But there was still too much for for Abada to do.
Well, I think he felt if he didn't challenge him, he was going to get clean through, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, but is it because he was running sideways at that point, and also Rangers had some other players coming back?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a direct run at goal. It wasn't going straight on McGregor. He was going away. He still had, as I said, a wee bit of work to do. So it wasn't the wording. The phrasing is denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity. For me, if you take out the word obvious, it's not. Yeah. It's not a red card.
And one Rangers fans were complaining about was an offside decision that was given against them when Carter Vickers went into a challenge on a Rebo, I think it was, and fell to the floor. And it looked to me like he was playing the two Rangers players onside.
I think he was, yeah. Unfortunately, I think Frank Connor got that call wrong. Probably the only one he got wrong in the game. But Vickers has went for the challenge. He's landed on the floor. That shouldn't negate that the play needs to stop. So for me, I think Rangers were unfortunate at that moment in time. I think it was Carter Vickers was playing him onside.
Was it because he's on the ground that the AR1 didn't catch it?
I don't know. You'd need to ask Frank.
But I think, like you said at the top of the show, I mean, is this maybe an example of the manager's mentality and sort of the way they handle themselves is permeating through the players?
I think it probably is. I mean, if you're the manager of a club, take away a football team, if you're a manager of a business in a company, then your morals, your fibre has to then permeate through the company and the people who are within your department. So for me, as a manager within my department, I like to try and have an influence on how my staff treat people and how my staff go about their business. So you'd like to think that if you're a manager of a football club, your influence has to come right through there. And I think you can quite clearly see that Ange Postecoglou, who's come across without any coaching staff, inherited his previous boss's coaching staff. But look at the difference in the team. So it's got to come from one person, and it's coming from Ange Postecoglou. And I would like to think that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst will have the exact same influence on Rangers. He's had less of a time, but given a summer transfer window, given a wee bit more time to put his rubber stamp on what it goes, I think that's good management. Yeah,
I mean, Postecoglou is such a laid-back character, and Giovanni, quite a calm and polite person. That seems to be the way that the teams are operating, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, think back to, not to be deriding, but think back to Billy McNeil and Jock Wallace and all these kind of guys. Could you imagine them sitting, going for a coffee up the West End together?
You can't imagine Gio Van Bronckhorst saying, let's get the battle fever on to go out and play Celtic, would you?
No, I couldn't imagine that. In fact, but his best friend at one point, was that not Henrik Larsson? The two of them were at Feyenoord together.
Yeah.
Opposite sides of the divide, and they're best of friends together. But no, I think they've both had very positive influences on the structure and the way that both clubs are playing football now.
Mm-hmm. So, like we touched on, what does this do for John Beaton now for the rest of the season? Has he now got a chance of the cup final, would you say?
I don't think yesterday would have put him any further back. In my opinion, I think Willie will get the cup final, and deservedly so.
Right.
John's obviously done the Edinburgh Derby semi-final. Bobby done the Glasgow Derby semi-final. So I think that Willie will get the final, but John certainly didn't do his cases any harm there.
No, absolutely. And of course, next season he'll be back in European football with Willie and Bobby Madden as well, and Nick Walsh, we think, because of they would all be VAR trained to cover European games again.
Yeah, no, these guys will be operating at the highest level, and obviously VAR is going to come in, and again, I've said it stupidly, coming in halfway through the season. Mm-hmm. It's better coming in than not coming in, but no, these guys will be operating at the highest level, and it can only be good to bring back to our shores to influence games that are going on here.
Absolutely. So a pretty quiet Old Firm game, and actually pretty quiet across the card at the weekend, Des. There was one incident though which looked a wee bit tasty up at Perth, where St Mirren got a very important victory over St Johnstone. Jamie McCart seemed to go in a wee bit on Alec Grieve, leaving a sort of stamp on him.
The words that when I seen it, I thought it was sly. Thought it was very, very slight. It was premeditated. He knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't even get cautioned for it. And I think Sportscene referenced it, and we've also discussed it. He knew what he was doing. It's a stamp. It's a red card. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not the most powerful stamp, so to speak, but he's trodden on him, and he knew what he was doing. So yeah, I don't know if retrospective action will come in for that, but it was certainly worth of an ordering off, in my opinion. You
wonder why a player would even, if they're going to stamp somebody, you may as well make a good job of it, Des, surely.
That's it. Well, if you're going to get sent off for attempting to throw a punch, well, throw the punch. If you're going to attempt to stand on somebody, then do it. Not that we're obviously advocating people to be violent, but why? I don't understand. It was very, very, very foolish, and I hope he's looking at himself and going, I should be ashamed of that one.
And maybe one that the manager should have a word with him about as well, eh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Callum Davidson was a terrific football player, wholehearted, played at the highest level, played for Scotland. It's right in front of him as well. It's at the dugout side. So I would like to think that Callum, being the man that he is, would have a quiet word in his ear. Maybe
it's the emotion of the occasion. I mean, Jamie McCart's playing for a team that's almost certainly in the relegation playoff, isn't it?
Yeah, they are scrapping hard, scrapping for everything they can. St Mirren winning at the weekend. I think there's only 3 games left. St Mirren only need 1 point to stay up. But again, this is a team that won a double trophy last year, and Callum Davidson was quite rightly respected for it and lauded for it. Now they're fighting for their life. Dundee are gone, so take them out of the equation. Mm-hmm. So St Johnstone are fighting for their life. And they've got, obviously, Arbroath, Inverness and Partick coming up. Would you bet on St Johnstone? It's a 50-50.
No, exactly. It's not certainly a done deal by any manner of means.
Absolutely not.
You always find that the championship teams got that wee bit of momentum, haven't they? Because they're on a positive sort of spiral, if you like. Yeah,
well, the other ones that are looking up. St Johnstone are looking down. So for them to stay up is on an even keel. So yeah, the championship teams, what was it, a few years ago, was it Hamilton and Hibs? And Hamilton came up and stayed up for a good number of years. So you've got to favour the championship team coming up, whoever it may be. Mm-hmm. I would love Arbroath to go up. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. Dick Campbell and I have had a few discussions over the years, but I think that would just be a fairy tale.
I know. He should probably just retire if he does that, shouldn't he?
Oh, he's got enough money.
Interesting stuff, Des. Thanks for your company today. Thanks for listening to Get Involved Referee. Remember to follow us on the socials, on Twitter and on Instagram, and we'll get you next time.